Welcome back to MNF Retro. Good evening if you're just joining us for the first time. Hopefully the word is spreading that we are showing you some football this evening on Sky Sports. OK, it's not live. We've dipped into the archive, but some great games nonetheless. We've been asking for your tweets as well at Sky Sports News with the hashtag MNF Retro, and you can put your questions tonight to Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher. Those tweets are pouring in already. Darren Judge says, look at all those black football boots on show. Daniel Winter says, goosebumps watching MNF Retro and seeing Viduka score those goals. How much he misses football. I think that's a view expressed by a lot of people who are joining us this evening. So we have just seen Leeds United beat Liverpool by 4-3. Great comeback from November 2000, and Jamie playing in that game. Give us some of your initial thoughts just watching that, the kind of emotions it must have stirred in you watching it back.
Well, I said at the top of the show that it was a big rivalry between ourselves and Leeds, trying to overtake United or Arsenal, certainly join them. The thing I find watching that is comparing it to sort of the games we've been analysing for the last few years, that the technical quality, the robustness of that game, lots of goals and crosses, just feels completely different really with that Leeds team. But going to Leeds was tough, wasn't it then? It was really aggressive. There was an aggressive team, all young, energetic players, so it was tough, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think particularly when we went to play at Leeds, I don't know if it was the same for you, it was brutal, probably more brutal than Liverpool in some ways. The rivalry between Liverpool and United is huge, but the Leeds-Manchester United rivalry was almost like a deep hatred. There's a little bit of respect between Liverpool and Manchester, just a little bit. But with Leeds, it just felt like there was a real nastiness, they would come on the pitch if they could. You know, it was that type of feeling. And you felt the players at the time, to be fair, you know, I'm going to speak to one of them in a minute, who represented the sort of, you know, you think about David Batty and who played for them a bit earlier than that, and then you had Lee Bowyer, players who sort of had that sort of tenacity and that bit of a narkiness about them, and I think that's how it always felt when we went there. But in terms of the ability of the teams, I mean, it strikes me, when we played in this era, the technical ability of the players now and the football, the coaches are asking the players to play now is so much better. I mean, the first 5 goals in that game were crosses, which are nothing against crosses, but you think about the intricate play we see now, the technical ability, everyone taking the ball. And
do you think the technical ability is better now, or the players now are asked to play slightly differently, whereas managers accept us clearing the ball down the line, whereas now they'd be like, no, get the ball, you have to play. It almost be I think when we were playing, if we cleared the ball down the line, the manager's never going to say to you, don't do that.
Oh, no,
do you know what I mean? It feels like managers are different now as well.
Yeah, if I got the ball as a fullback in the first part of the game at Old Trafford and didn't put it down the line, it was or did put it down the line, it was a good ball. Get it in behind them. I mean, that was literally not what we were told, but turn them early on, make sure they face their own, play in their half. I just don't think that's the game nowadays. And you look at, I don't see many channel balls nowadays. The idea of a Manchester City or Liverpool fullback, the 2 best teams in the country at the moment, playing long balls down the channel for a striker running out there, very rarely happens. And I think it is about the game changing. It's just developed incredibly. I think in the last few years with Pep, Jurgen Klopp, Pochettino, the coaches that we've had, it's changed dramatically. I mean, your team that played in that era was a basic football team, and you weren't asked to play intricate play through midfield, were you?
No, what I mean, I think a lot of those teams, ourselves included, maybe yourselves and Arsenal, were slightly different, had more quality, different players. I think it was very much a 4-4-2. There wasn't too much players getting into pockets, and I don't even think people knew what a pocket was then, you know what I mean? Whatever it was. But I think if we're actually looking at Leeds in this, do you think that Leeds team underachieved or actually achieved what it was and was? Because sometimes, I'll be honest with you, that season we won 3 trophies. There's no difference between us and Leeds. We finished one position above them, but Leeds are always remembered as a team who nearly won and got to the semi-final of the Champions League. And even though we won trophies, it's almost sort of dismissed. I always feel a little bit for the players and Gerard Houllier and that he probably doesn't get enough credit really for that season. Really, when you think of who he was coming up against, really. But that Leeds team should have achieved more.
I think that Leeds team, probably, if you looked at the modern equivalent, it's probably Tottenham of the last few years. The Tottenham team the last few years we've loved, but it hasn't gone on to do what it should have done. Maybe it should have won the Premier League the year that Leicester won it. It should have maybe won a Champions League, if it had a bit more luck. But you think about it, this Tottenham team that's now coming to an end, or has come to an end.
A little bit like Newcastle as well with Keegan.
Yeah, it's like the teams
yeah.
that they catch your eye, but they never went on to do it. They didn't have something missing that didn't quite have that ability to go on and win it. I think the thing that Liverpool has always had going for it, and I think other clubs, Arsenal are saying, Manchester United, when you've got and built that history, you can go and win trophies because the mentality is in the club to win trophies. I think Leeds, to be fair, in that era, were trying to build that mentality again.
Do you think that's something in what Pep Guardiola says now about actually Man City in the Champions League? And I think sometimes he says it and it gets people don't really understand what he means by that, as if we're not one of the big clubs, we haven't got history, we haven't got this thing behind us, and people say, what does it mean? But I believe that when we've played for Liverpool at times, we won the Champions League in 2005, we were probably weren't even in the top 10 teams in Europe, but because you're Liverpool, you have this belief that it's Europe, we're supposed to win, we can do this, and I think that's what it means by that.
I think it is. I think that it takes a lot to shake that off. I think if you've got an inbuilt success in your club, I think Pep has installed that now at City. You know, they're winning trophies again this season. A few weeks ago, they won a trophy. But I think to turn a club from having a losing mentality into a winning mentality takes a lot. But once you get a club doing that, Leeds, you felt we're getting nearer and nearer, just like you thought Tottenham were getting nearer and nearer, but just didn't quite get there. And then you think, well, how are they going to get back? And Leeds, I always felt was a huge club when we were playing against them. I always felt it was a big club. When people say, what's a big club? I always think Leeds United.
You want them back?
Yeah, absolutely. Because just the feeling when you go and play football there is unbelievable. It's different. It's a different place to play football.
Can I ask you, sorry to interrupt, can I ask you about, and I totally agree with you, the technical side of the game. But do you actually miss games like that? Where it is that sort of, I think sometimes I feel in the Premier League where a lot of teams trying to play the same way. Listen, I love the Premier League, love the way the game's gone, it's technical and rightly so. But sometimes it isn't something about a game like that where it's end to end, both teams actually going for it, hammer and tongs, both ends, there's no sort of sitting back.
Yeah. We do see some games like that nowadays. I don't think we do, but we do see some games like that. But I know what you mean, where it is a little bit. It's almost like carnage in some ways. There's no possession. There's no possession. There's no shape. Everybody seems to be everywhere. The tackles going in. The referee's letting it flow, and they are the best games in football. And you would see that. I mean, looking at Mark Viduka there, who I think would grace the Premier League today if he was playing. He's such a great player. Technically, he was brilliant. His hold-up play, almost to get ahead of his time in terms of the way in which he played the game. You know, he would have enjoyed it a lot more today than he would have done back then when he was probably getting booted. He was probably getting, you know...
He wasn't getting booted that game, was he?
No, he wasn't. No.
He was.
I wanted to pick up because there was some interesting defending. Yeah, there was some interesting defending in that game. Let me just interrupt with a couple of tweets, guys. Sam Johnson has asked, do you want Leeds back in the Premier League, both of you? And I think you've both answered that because of the atmosphere and the kind of fervour around Elland Road. Someone else wanted to say that Ian here, Viduka doesn't get enough credit, and again, I think you've addressed that. What was he like to actually play against Jamie? And we saw a lot of the time there you were backing off towards your own goal. Was he the kind of player that made you do that?
Yes, to be fair, Dave, I was full-back. I wasn't coming up against him. I wasn't backing off from that much. But what Viduka was, is he was a type of... I think there's certain players who physically you can't cope with them as a player, so you have to in some ways play against them a different way. So Viduka was always someone who came to the ball to receive the ball, wasn't he, to his feet, and then it would almost be, could he turn? He'd always be backing in and trying to turn. Yeah, he was probably very much like Mark Hughes in some ways for Manchester United. So you were never ever going to get in front of him. You were never going to knock him off the ball. It was almost, you accept he's going to hold the ball up. Make sure you don't get turned. He was not really going to someone who was going to run away from you. And then it was about maybe people making runs in behind. Lee Bowyer especially, Harry Kewell, maybe Alan Smith, Robbie Keane, Robbie Fowler coming later also. Yeah. So he did have that ability where it was almost... You couldn't stop Viduka doing what he wanted to do, which was basically hold the ball up and get his team up the pitch.
No, I think when we played against Mark Viduka, we always used to put somebody in front of him, because he very rarely wanted to run the channels and run out wide. I'm not saying he would never do it, but if you put someone in front of him, you brought the ball into his feet, you actually took away a large part of his game, which was one, trying to roll you and turn you if he got close to goal, but even his hold-up play, you couldn't get near him. So you couldn't get around him when the ball get played into you, he'd just barge you off or he'd stick his backside into you. And I think that we tried to get players in front of him and make him run that way, and then you'd always have a chance with him. And I think that's something we always you know, the boss, when we had team talks against him, he was hugely respectful of Mark Viduka. You know, one thing that Sir Alex used to do before any game, he would attend to the big players in the opposition team, and he would say, you need to attend to him, and he would give you the.
Did speak about me?
He didn't say attend to you, he said exploit you. No, I think in terms of sort of someone like Viduka, I always remember Tim Cahill when he played at Everton. You know, he would talk for maybe a minute or two about what you had to do to attend to that player. He said, if you don't stop this player, you'll have problems today. And he would make it quite clear, quite simple instructions, but it would be on whoever the centre-back was for us on that day, or whether it be the midfield player who have to get in front and play in front of him. You know, that was your job, and Viduka was a player that needed attention. And I think that my view on Viduka is he could have played for any team in Europe at that time. I think he was one of the best centre forwards in Europe. I think he was capable of playing in a technical team, capable of playing in a long ball team, capable of playing in any type of team. But in terms of your Liverpool team, I mean, when you went to Leeds yourselves, was it as hostile as it was for us at Manchester United, or was it a little bit nice, a bit cosier?
No, I don't think it was as hostile, but I think we both realised we both had the same jobs to try and almost, this young up and coming team, David O'Leary's come in, Gerard Houlier's come in, and it was almost, I think along with probably Chelsea at that time were just starting again, going a bit younger, maybe Frank Lampard and John Terry coming in, but we actually tried to sign. I mean, Gerard Houllier loved Lee Bowyer, adored him. He was someone who used to always speak about in team meetings about how good Lee Bowyer was, and we actually tried to sign him. And as I said, unfortunately for us, it probably fell through at that time, because I mean, he was a massive fan. I know we've got him joining us shortly now, but he was a massive part of that, really, and that sort of energy and that drive from midfield. But we had some great games, and I think eventually after a couple of years, we just got away from him, sort of just left Leeds behind, really. I think we beat them a couple of times in the FA Cup and won well there a couple of times.